This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
That fundamentally alters the role of medicine.
We want to stamp out and eradicate anti-Semitism.
Make a list, check it twice.
This is pretty seismic. It speaks volumes about how big streaming is now in our society.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. New York will become the 13th state to legalize physician-assisted suicide. Governor Kathy Hochul announced this morning she has reached a deal with the legislature and will sign the Medical Aid in Dying Act.
I have to set aside my religious upbringings in this case and do what I think is best for the people of the state of New York.
Here is what we know. Hochul added several amendments to the bill. It will likely be signed in January and go into effect 6 months later. It only applies to New York residents with less than 6 months left to live. It requires patients to undergo a mental health evaluation showing they're capable of choosing suicide and submit a written and oral request for life-ending medication. Some supporters of the act don't support video testimony.
We're asking dying people, many of them elderly, to do a video selfie affirming that they want medical aid in dying. I think it's going to be very difficult and an assault on the dignity of dying people to make that kind of a requirement.
New York Family's Jason McGuire says the entire act goes down the wrong road.
State sanctioned suicide often comes from a position of empathy, but it cannot justify a public policy that abandons the state's responsibility to protect vulnerable people and that fundamentally alters the role of medicine.
Canada approved euthanasia in 2023, and it now accounts for 1 in every 20 Canadian deaths. President Trump is at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware at this hour, attending the dignified transfer of the remains of 2 National Guard members killed in Syria. The president joining grieving families as the remains were brought back to the country they served. Trump traveled to Dover several times during his first term and once described it as the toughest thing he has to do as president. Donald Trump set to address the nation at 9 o'clock tonight in what will likely be his final speech of the year. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has a preview.
He's going to talk a lot about the accomplishments over the past 11 months, all that he's done to bring our country back to greatness and all he continues to plan to do.
Rogue Republicans on Capitol Hill, 4 GOP lawmakers have signed on to a Democratic measure that would renew Obamacare subsidies for another 3 years. CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns.
These Republicans from moderate districts that the House Republicans need to keep in order to keep their majority, they have signed on to this, which shows you how big of an issue the rising costs of health care are in these battleground districts.
In Australia, 2 of 15 funerals have been held for the victims of Sunday's terror attack at a Hanukkah celebration on Bondi Beach. 6 of the 22 people injured are in critical condition. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is vowing to take whatever government action is needed.
We want to stamp out and eradicate anti-Semitism from our society. We want to also stamp out the evil ideology of what would appear to be, from the investigators, an ISIS-inspired attack.
Nick Reiner made his first court appearance today in the deaths of his parents, director Rob Reiner and his wife. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti was in the courtroom in California.
He was placed in an area within that courtroom that is called the box. It is a plexiglass room. It makes it quite difficult to actually see him directly, though I was able to get a glimpse of him. At moments, he seemed to shuffle, struggling to walk in it. The whole process was about 5 to 10 minutes.
Reiner next appears in court January 7th and could face the death penalty. A new survey by the credit company Affirm found 70% of people using credit cards for their holiday purchases will not pay their bills in full next month. 18% don't expect to pay off holiday purchases until next summer. Bank of America's Dennis Johnson says it's important not to overspend.
Make a list, check it twice, make sure that you are being very thoughtful about what you're going to get for the folks that you love.
NBC News is out with a new poll that shows 55% of us plan to spend less this year and only 9% will spend more. And the Oscars are moving to YouTube. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced today, starting in 2029, the awards ceremony will stream the event on YouTube. Reporter Matt Wolf.
This is pretty seismic. It speaks volumes about how big streaming is now in our society.
Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, Donald Trump's energy secretary lands in Pennsylvania. PA loses its top cop, and whole milk in school lunches making a reprise. Those stories after weather.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast for the night tonight. Skies will be partly to mostly cloudy, low temps in the 20s, the breeze is subsiding. Tomorrow, mild, we'll have some sunshine. High temperatures tomorrow in the 40s to near 50. Rain and rain showers will spread from west to east across the region tomorrow night into Friday morning. Later Friday, sharply colder, windy. The rain showers will have changed to snow showers, flurries, and some local lake snow. Temperatures Friday falling through the day, ending up in the 20s and 30s in the afternoon.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright made a pit stop at 3 Mile Island, the nuclear power plant near Harrisburg, PA, today. He says the plant that had a partial nuclear meltdown in 1979 gets a bad rap from the press.
It's just much easier to sell fear than to sell reassurance.
Wright says he wants to restart the Unit 1 reactor at that plant to pave the way for the launch of the Clean Energy Center to help lower electricity prices across the entire Mid-Atlantic region. Wright told MSNBC 3 Mile Island is safe to produce energy.
Even with mechanical system design problems, human errors, no meaningful radiation was released, no impacts on human health. But it scared everyone.
Reactor 1 was shut down in 2019 due to financial and operational issues. It's located next to the Unit 2 reactor, which shut down after that partial meltdown more than 40 years ago. Residents who lived through that historic event came to the site today to protest a potential restart. Pennsylvania's top cop is leaving his job. That story from Family Life's Mark Webster.
Yeah, State Police Colonel Christopher Paris has announced plans to retire from the commissioner post effective January 2nd, but he won't be leaving law enforcement. Instead, he'll begin a new role with the FBI, though exactly what that role will be hasn't been disclosed yet. Paris, a 26-year veteran of PSP, has overseen investigations into some memorable cases in recent years, including this year's arson attack on the residence of Governor Josh Shapiro and last year's assassination attempt on Donald Trump in Butler County. Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, currently Deputy Commissioner of Operations, will be named Acting Commissioner when Paris steps down. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
A new Cornell University study shows nearly 90% of New York public schools are experiencing a decline in student enrollment. Spokesman Leslie Reynolds says it's mostly due to moms having fewer kids.
There's often a question of, is the enrollment decline happening because of COVID-based trends? But really, it was a longer-standing trend driven by the declining population and the decreasing fertility, having fewer babies and also waiting later to have babies.
The U.S. House has passed a measure to make whole milk available in U.S. schools again. The Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act of 2025 was spearheaded by Pennsylvania lawmaker Glenn G.T. Thompson, who tells WTAJ the move is long overdue.
After 15 years, we have restored the option of whole milk and flavor back in the schools as we reclaim that market that we totally lost back in 2010. We lost enough farms across the country that we also saw a negative impact on the rural economy.
President Trump is expected to sign that legislation into law soon. Next at 5, Inside Out. Family Life's Martha Manikas Foster speaks with Brandon Cooper, senior pastor for City View Community Church in Elmhurst, Illinois, and author of a Gospel Coalition article on giving your kids lasting joy for Christmas. Let's listen in.
Brandon, you believe that what children unwrap on Christmas can, in fact, point them to the giver of good gifts.
We really do want Christmas to be God-focused, and I think especially as parents, Christmas is a discipleship proving ground. And I think the question we want to be asking ourselves as parents is, are we training them to love gifts, or are we training them to love the giver of the gifts? And are we training them to love especially the greatest gift ever given, Jesus himself, the whole reason that we give gifts at Christmas time?
You also suggest gifts that we could give that, in fact, can fit like a puzzle piece into that place in a child's life where their talents and their opportunities for ministry meet. What are some examples that you have?
So we're spending lots of money at Christmas, and always worth asking why we're spending it. And so here's an opportunity where we have to prepare our kids for a lifetime of kingdom service. And I don't just mean in professional ministry, but in their vocation, whatever God calls them to, or even in their hobbies. And so an instrument would be a great example. Music glorifies God, can be used in the church, helping lead his people in his praise. But I think when we see skill or aptitude, creativity, even just interest, that's a great place for a gift. And so maybe it looks like sending a kid to a class or a workshop or even a camp where they'll get to develop that aptitude, or providing a science kit or something like that for a kid who's got STEM interests. It's a little bit like the difference between handing your kid dumbbells at Christmas time and handing them junk food. Like, one is going to build them up, strengthen them, to grow and develop them, and the other one, not so much. I want us to have that perspective that we want our kids to have lasting joy that endures even into eternity.
That's Pastor Brandon Cooper on giving your kids lasting joy for Christmas. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Inside Out and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
It's easy to get into trouble with credit cards, but it's not inevitable if you follow 4 essential guidelines. Hi, I'm Rob West with a Faith and Finance Minute. First, use a credit card only for budgeted purchases, things you've already planned for. If it's not in the budget, don't swipe. Second, pay your bill on time and in full every month. That keeps you free from interest, late fees, and mounting debt. Third, in the first month you can't pay in full, stop using the card. It's better to pause now than dig a deeper hole later. And fourth, just because you can afford to buy something doesn't mean you should. Wait a few days. The urge to spend will pass. Follow these 4 principles and you'll stay in control, using credit as a tool for stewardship, not a trap for debt. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, what is the largest pet you've ever had in your home? One woman might have the record beat. That story after a last look at weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. All in all, an easy-to-take weather pattern relative to the extreme cold and lake effect of late. We've got a cold front on the way, though. It's going to bring rain a Thursday night and a Friday morning, and sharply colder air and some lake flakes in its wake. But for the night tonight, skies will be partly to mostly cloudy, low temps in the 20s, the breeze is subsiding. But tomorrow, mild, we'll have some sunshine. High temperatures tomorrow in the 40s to near 50. Rain and rain showers will spread from west to east across the region tomorrow night into Friday morning. Later Friday, sharply colder, windy. The rain showers will have changed to snow showers, flurries, and some local lake snow. Temperatures Friday falling through the day, ending up in the 20s and 30s in the afternoon.
All right, Kevin, finally at 5, as the song goes, you know Dasher and Dancer, but do you know Lars? Lars might be the only reindeer around who thinks he's a dog. The UK reindeer has been raised indoors alongside Angie Nelson's spaniels after Lars' reindeer mom couldn't properly care for him. Nelson tells ITV,
there was no point having him out in the stable, going out every 2 hours to see him. He needed to be part of a family.
She says she's slowly getting the 7-month-old Lars used to hanging out with the reindeer living outside on their farm, and that's probably a good thing since Lars is still a bit of a problem as a house pet, including having trouble grasping the concept of potty training.
Ouch! What's a steaming pile?
She says Lars is slowly coming to grips with the fact that he's a reindeer, not a dog. And that's the world that we live in for Wednesday, the 17th of December. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.